Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for FourCast is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
What sort of future do you think we're heading for? How will we live as we slip into the 21st century?
Welcome to FourCast episode 44. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Scott Johnson.
And this is the show where we predict the future with two fantastic guests. And we've got some great folks joining us today. Here in the cottage with me is Shannon Morse, a.k.a. Snubs from Hack 5.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming all this way just to be on FourCast.
Yes, I flew all the way out here from St. Louis, Missouri, just to be on FourCast. I'm so excited.
That is awesome. I can't believe... I mean, I know there was this whole Hack 5 anniversary thing that happened to happen at the same time. But that was just a lucky coincidence.
I know. It just so happened. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do that too.
Also joining us is Heather Gold, comedian, co-host of Tummlevision and The Heather Gold Show. Welcome back, Heather. I mean, you haven't been on FourCast before, but it's good to be podcasting with you again.
Oh, I'm delighted. I love the future.
I know. We're going to be living in the future for the next 45 minutes or so. Scott, shall we start with a prediction from one of our listeners? Oh, Scott's gone. He fell off again. All right, well, we'll go ahead and we'll read the prediction while we get him back. Felix in Virginia says, "Hey, Tom, Scott, and assorted guests. The other day I was talking to my sister about the future of humanity. You know, the normal type of thing you talk to siblings about. One of the ideas I had was that in the future, people will be genetically engineered so that our bodies are essentially blank slates. This would involve things such as hollow bones to allow for flight if one chooses, or new muscle groups for extra limbs and such. Everyone would have these new blank slate bodies, then just go to a doctor to have whatever modification they want installed when they need them."
That's interesting. You know, when he first said that, I was thinking that his prediction would go along with blank slate, as in you could have green eyes and red hair or whatever you wanted. But I was going to say, well, I'm happy with my genetics. I like the fact that I came from my mom, who has brown hair, and my dad, who has brown eyes. And, you know, I like that.
But you could have extra limbs under this situation.
And then you said the rest, and I was like, extra limbs. That would be very handy for when I'm straightening my hair.
Yeah?
Hey, yes. I'm sure we're going to have extra limbs. That was going to be my crazy prediction.
Well, it still can be, because I'm sure your take will be different than Felix. But I like...
There's some detail, but I like his cleverness with the hollow bone thing. I think that's pretty nifty. It's like, isn't it like we're becoming more like birds even though we evolved from birds?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely... Well, we didn't evolve from birds directly, but they're back there somewhere, right?
I'm just thinking like on the branch. Aren't they somewhere behind us?
Yeah. Well, lots of flying things back there.
They're like that second cousin that was
We could get back to flying again. Why not?
Yeah. Put some helium inside. That could work.
In Felix's world, I see this warehouse full of show models that are like these kind of a weird... they'd be different colors, but they'd be like mannequins, and they'd be all lined up together. And this would be, you know, you'd kind of be able to choose your tone based, kind of the way you do video game characters now. It's like, well, I want to go a little darker here. I like to be tanner my entire life. And you'd pick out one of these models and say, all right, that one needs to be 6'2", and it needs to be, you know, pretty well built by the time I get it, and, you know, kind of pick out this body well before they do it. And then if they can give it to me in a very painless way, then I'm all for this. I'm ready for this change.
It's sort of like plug and play, right? It's like upgrading your RAM or adding a new hard drive, except it's to yourself.
Yeah, you're plugging in your personality and the bits of you that stay you, and you're being put into this new body. And I could totally get my head around that idea. I think that's a great idea. And it isn't just that you're not happy with who you are. The idea would be maybe you're not as happy with who you've become at, say, I don't know, let's say you turn 50 and you're like, man, stuff's sagging that didn't used to sag. I could really use one of these new bodies because I could run more and be faster and do all this. Then you're kind of in this hole, well, do we just keep recycling our brains? This comes up on the show all the time. Do we start downloading our consciousness and our personalities in some sort of cloud, and then we can pull that at any time and put it into a new body? And you could keep kind of going with that scenario way into the future. But I kind of like the idea that we could extend life by staying who we essentially are, but getting a new model so we can go a little further.
Well, in a way, isn't that what some spiritual traditions say we've already been doing?
Yeah, like if you say, if you look at certain like Eastern spirituality and certain thoughts over there, the idea that I'm on my 5th run here of some form of me.
You're on your 5th level and you know 2 Easter eggs.
Right.
You know, it could be really handy as far as genetics, like being able to get rid of that gene that made you contract a certain disease. That could be really useful as well.
Yeah,
And
that's true. Yeah, you could totally. I mean, I was thinking about this, like the idea of the brain degenerating, right? So you'd have to upload your brain into something new, but maybe not. Maybe you could just remove the gene that gives you Alzheimer's, and then you're done. Take away all the other physical conditions that cause it, and you can keep your brain.
There you go.
That's the slogan for my company. You can keep your brain. All right. Thanks, Felix, for sending us along that prediction. You can send your own predictions to fourcastpodcast@gmail.com or post them up on our blog, fourcastpodcast.com. Are you all ready for the short-term predictions?
Yes.
Yes?
Totally ready.
All right. These are predictions of what we think will happen in the next few years. Could be in an area of expertise. It could just be stuff from your imagination, though. Whatever you've got, lay it on us. Let's start with you, Heather. What is your short-term prediction?
Mine is very short term. I predict Sarah Palin will win the nomination, the Republican nomination for president, and she will run. And if the unemployment goes above 11%, I think there's a good chance she'll win.
Oh, wow. So a Palin ticket 2012 is not that far off, but a win as well. And, of course, you assuming here that Obama reruns?
I assume he reruns. There's some talk he might nominate Hillary as vice president in case she's going to go against. She tries to run against him. I don't know. I think that's a lot of drama for him to deal with. I think he'll run again. I think everything's about the unemployment numbers, and I think Palin. I mean, I've said this in other places. I don't necessarily agree with stuff she's saying or think it's all true, but I think she's the most facile user of social media, and I think we'll see even past those 2 years. More and more use of the web and media, the way she's doing it, both disinformation and information going direct to people, which is seen in that realm as being, big mainstream media and politics see what she's doing as kind of cheap and petty. I mean, beyond not just in substance, but in form. The fact that she makes statements on Facebook is very, makes a lot of people disregard her. That I don't think they understand how powerful it is to do that.
It's very powerful. I can see like the fact that Sarah Palin has been in the media so much recently, and not only her, but her family as well. So even people who go up and vote just for names that they have heard before, she'll get those votes because she's already known by so many people.
And I think it's interesting that she has been able to keep her media profile high when right after the election was over, a lot of people dismissed her and said she's done. That's it. She made a fool of herself in this election, and she's over.
And yet she keeps on going.
And Heather, I think you hit on it. Like she figured out how to keep that profile
right?
up.
Like once something becomes like Madonna is an artist and is really a good performer, but what made her really a mega superstar is as we had corporatized music and media, she played that. She was a genius at how to reformat her image in that era of media. Now that we've moved to more real-time media, Palin is incredibly savvy at constantly, dropping little controversial, not very actually usually politically relevant in a real way, but they're media relevant. She makes enormous amounts of splash. Her entire business model and political model is based on staying in media constantly. The president's running stuff. He's, can drop it in The View or whatever once in a while. And a president wouldn't even gone on a show like The View not that long ago. So I think we'll see people move. To me, and I've blogged about this years ago, Sarah Palin is Eve Harrington. If you haven't seen All About Eve, it's one of the best movies ever. I highly recommend seeing it. And I think it's predictive of how people play media. And it's one of the things we have to deal with when we say media is democratized. Everyone isn't always using it in this completely earnest manner. It's about being visible, and she almost can't lose. She's dropped the expectations for her so low that like her kids have some crazy, reality show. It's more attention for her. I mean, remember when George W. Bush ran? People that you can't be as slow as he is and have the grades he had. Well, he won 2 terms, so you could.
And there was a lot of talk when Clinton was running about how he was too informal because he went on. It wasn't Letterman. What was the
Arsenio.
He went on Arsenio Hall and played the saxophone, and it was a big controversy. People were like, "Whoa, I don't want an irresponsible guy like that. He could never win the presidency."
Right. So what I would say is what I've seen, and to me, I'm going to tie this into tech and business. Every time you see somebody do something that everyone said, no, that's just kind of beyond the pale. No one would do that. The movie business and acting at the time when they really got big as a bigger business were considered like being prostitutes and slumlords. It was the most lame, socially looked down upon thing you could do. And my great uncles started a book business that became extremely successful in Canada. They were Jews. It was a white shoe, waspy business, and they sold books by the pound. People thought that was kind of untoward. They did very well. I just think undercutting, like in tech, you see there's reframing. Like I can reframe the thing you're doing bigger and open it up more and take your business that way. I think politics and media work the same way. And the Bill Clinton moment, I think, is exactly when we saw a big jump in that. And I just think it's accelerating. You're going to see, I can't imagine it. She just went camping with Kate Gosselin, and that's playing. That's playing to her base. Did we think Kate Gosselin would be in the media for a year? No. But here she is.
Aren't you guys concerned that this just adds to the paper thinning of the people we want in charge? Do you know what I mean? Like, she strikes me as dumb as wood sometimes. She says things that I just go, really? You guys are getting behind this? You got to be kidding me. But I'll agree with you. She's really good at figuring out ways to get her name out there, to make a splash, to make noise, to have people take notice. And you're probably right about the whole prediction. But I'm sad that we're moving.
I'm not saying I love it.
No, I'm not saying you are. But I'm just saying I'm sad that generally this is you're right to bring up celebrity as well, because there's this weird kind of...
They're merging. It's a merger of these things. And the geeks have helped enable this. So it's not just politics. Nothing is... And also the future, nothing is separated. They're all connected. It'll be more obvious how everything's connected. Without Twitter and Facebook, her career would not be where it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's sad, but I agree.
Well, what it does is it allows you to go around the traditional media and control your message, no matter who you are.
It really shows us where the political boundaries are heading as far as social media goes.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to you, Shannon. Short-term prediction, what do you see in the near future?
In the near future, I'm guessing this would be 5 to 10 years or so. This is something that I've spoke to my friends about plenty of times because we're huge sci-fi nerds and we would love for this to happen. I want for our scientists and NASA and everybody to find life on another planet. And I'm not just talking like a little organism or, oh, we found oxygen, we could live here. I want them to find like a bug or something that we can actually see.
Bug-level life.
The general population would be like, wow, that's awesome.
Something walking around.
Yes, it would be amazing. And I could see it happening with all the technology that we have now available to us.
Like not necessarily like going to Mars and finding it, but finding evidence of it through a telescope?
But finding evidence of it, because we have the telescopes that can tell us like what kind of things exist on a planet, not just telling us that, oh, there's a planet there.
So how do you feel about Hawking's warning that we should be really careful about wanting to find life on other planets because we may find it and we may find them not interested in sort of mutual understanding or any of that? Does that scare you at all? Like finding out?
Not really. Good point, Hawking. Way to go. Do you have him on the show ever?
No, I'd love that.
I would love to have.
If you're listening, Mr. Hawking, you just let us know when. We'll have you on.
Yeah, I can't see like that actually happening. As I don't know if we would find intelligence, like really intelligent beings, but I could see us finding something that would show us that living on another planet would be available to us. So,
and when you say short term, what's your timeline you're thinking?
I'm thinking like 10 years.
All right, that's pretty
Hopefully.
quick.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want it to be in my lifetime at time. What's that?
I just love that for your short-term prediction, you went right for life on other planets.
I am very optimistic about this.
Hey, we've had this as a possibility in our collective consciousness, like a high-level possibility since at least the 60s, if not the 50s.
Yeah.
People have been thinking about UFOs and alien life. So,
like Like, think about how
about
big
time.
the universe is. There has to be something out there. We just need to find it.
It's a really big
Shannon,
universe.
According to The Secret, because you're thinking about it, it's going to happen.
Damn right it will.
Well, and you just got a bunch of other people to start thinking about it, too.
Haha. Even more of a chance. That's amazing.
More fuel to the fire. So just to sum up, evidence of life on other planet above the molecular level or the conditions level, but some sort of evidence that something's actually moving around.
Some kind of evidence that we could actually be able to see something with the natural human eye eventually.
How cool would it be? I'm just throwing this out there, but how cool would it be if we got one of those rovers on Mars that are still working, some miracle of the universe? Those things are still crawling around. What if we got an image back? I just know how, I mean, the world would be rocked by this. But an image back of some kind of bug crawling across the lens of that thing.
Wouldn't that be cool? See, that's why I want this to happen, because that would be epic, and it would be all over the place, and we would be the people that are living when that happened.
That is you remember where you were when you heard it moment.
It'll be almost as good as when Bill Clinton went on Arsenio Hall.
I remember where I was. It was in Lockhart. No, wait, never mind.
I was in a hallway in elementary school.
I was actually on Duval in my apartment on Duval Street. Wow, that's sad that I can actually remember that. That's not that important of a moment.
I remember seeing the first space shuttle go off. When I was a kid, we were at Disney World, and everyone just stopped and applauded. It was a really beautiful moment.
Oh, that's great. You actually saw it in person, you're saying?
It just randomly wasn't planned. It was like, there it was.
I remember watching the first flight of the Enterprise space shuttle off the back of the jumbo jet on TV.
Man, I don't remember any of that.
That was a big deal. And I also remember where I was when the Challenger blew up.
Oh, wow.
Because I was in line. I was in the lunch line in high school, and Dan Dove, who was the first chair drummer, was in line in front of me, and he turned around and he's like, "Hey, did you hear the space shuttle blew up?" And he was a jokester, so I was like, "That's sick, man. What's the punchline?" And he's like, "No, seriously, the space shuttle blew up." And I was like, "Oh, crap."
Ooh.
I was in class, and you were about an hour, 2 hours ahead of me, and that was about how far I was away from lunch, so that's weird.
Yeah.
That's in a weird way. But I remember hearing about that in class. We had those TVs, so teacher cranked them on, and we watched it, and we were all floored. We couldn't believe it. It was crazy. Well, but this would be monumentous. A big bug on the lens, dude.
Yeah.
There.
I was doing the show called FourCast, and then there was a bug on the Phoenix. It was amazing.
The chat room went nuts.
It was crazy.
The saddest thought I keep having is we would be amazed, but I bet there's a lot of people who wouldn't even notice that it happened. They'd be like, "What's going on with Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes?"
I think even the Tom Cruise lovers would notice that. That's huge.
I'd hope so. I mean, that's important.
So. Yeah.
I'm with you. Sorry to be the cynical.
That's all right. We need somebody to. I'm way too sunshiny.
Me too.
Yeah. We need Scott and Heather bringing us down so we balance out the show.
God, Scott, is that your speed? Is that how you roll?
I tend to. I don't know if you actually kind of could quantify how Tom and I are on each show. I think I'm probably usually Tom and I see eye to eye, but occasionally I get worried about things like Sarah Palin presidencies and giant bugs killing us. Which may.
Oh, I think it's a very real possibility that Sarah Palin. I mean, I'm sorry, it's the Jew in me. I'm like, when I see demagoguery happen, I think you need to pay attention.
All right, let's move on to our long-term predictions. These are long-term sci-fi, weird, strange, turn your world upside-down predictions for the next 100 or more years, as far out as you want. Shannon, we'll stay with you. What is your long-term prediction?
We will start taking tours, not of places on the Earth, but of our outer galaxy.
Nice.
The reason why
to visit
I
the
think
bugs.
to visit the bugs is because that threw me for a loop, man.
Sorry. Continue.
I feel like the Earth is being overpopulated by humans. We keep on ruining places, and eventually we'll probably end up taking over like all the National Geographic places, like the Grand Canyon, for example. There's going to be houses built up on the Grand Canyon. We don't want it to happen, but there's so many humans that keep on populating this world that it's going to happen. And people get bored of just going around and doing the touristy thing of visiting these places that used to be beautiful and no longer aren't. And by that time, we'll have the technology and we'll have the spacecrafts, and hopefully they'll be cheap enough, that we'll be able to go out to the outer galaxy and take a tour of what Mars looks like go around Mars and then come back for dinner time.
So these are not going to live, just
No, just taking
like
tours.
a cruise.
Yes,
Yeah.
taking a cruise.
A Mars
If you
cruise. Leo will be going on the Geek Mars cruise.
Going and checking out Titan the moon, and then going over to Jupiter, and I don't know, picking up some souvenirs, and then heading back.
And you'll be able to do it fast enough
Hopefully, yeah.
that it wouldn't take forever.
We'll have those kind of like crazy jetpacks and stuff. Yeah, we'll be able to do it.
What do you think, Heather? Would you go on the Mars cruise?
Of course. That sounds awesome. Shannon, I need to hang out with you more.
Oh my God, we would have an awesome time.
How cool would it be to go to Mars? And also, you just have such a great, positive, exploratory sense of things, which I think is really fun.
Wouldn't that be fun? Like, let's see, you're going to Jupiter today, and out the left window, you can see the gigantic storm that happens on Jupiter pretty much 24/7. And out the right side of your spacecraft, you can see the closest moons circling the planet. That would be so lovely.
So you could fly down through the gas.
The Tatooine Star Wars lover in me would like to go to Mars and just check out like the red rock crazy cavernous.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Check out the giant volcano. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that.
I'm a sci-fi geek if you haven't been able to figure that out.
I'd be happy going to the moon. I mean, the idea of like going all over the solar system, that's great.
And I figure in like a couple of 100 years, we'd be able to go farther than the moon.
Yeah, we'd hope. We're not even going back to the
man.
moon now, though.
Which is sad. We should be.
Yeah. You know where I would go first?
Where?
The Oort cloud.
The Oort cloud?
Because we know
Why?
virtually nothing about it. Like what's actually out there. I'd want to see like what is all the junk? Is it just a bunch of ice cubes like everyone thinks, or is there some cool hidden stuff
I
there?
wonder
Like
if there's like
be
a
scared?
refrigerator floating out there for some odd reason.
scared of what?
Like if you're going somewhere where no one's been before.
Well, no, but that's the fun of it.
like a Sarah Palin presidency, like that.
Have some monkeys go out there before you, and then Tom could be the
Thanks,
first
Scott.
person.
Well, obviously, it's like the tourist thing, right? So it'd be like taking a cruise to Antarctica is now.
Right.
There's some danger. You're seeing some things that maybe haven't been seen that much before, but somebody's been there and kind of done a little bit of
You
exploration.
might have to sign a paper before you get on.
Yeah,
the
you got to sign a
spacecraft.
waiver.
And you can still
But
get
it'll be
beers and
okay.
a football helmet, and there's cha-cha on the Lido deck, so
You
it
can't
chills the whole
you
thing
can't
out.
get beers at the Antarctica cruise, can you? Well, probably
On the
you can.
cruise?
Yeah,
Sure.
you can.
In a
You're right.
Martian helmet instead of a football helmet? I don't know.
The magnets on the fridge, you're going to have a whole new
Yes.
like solar system one to go with the
Aw.
states.
They could give us a whole solar system magnet collection.
Yeah.
And every time you go on one of the tours, you could gain one of the planet magnets.
Exactly.
Do you think, Shannon, that
Spoons,
being
too.
able to see the Earth would change people's sense of what it means to live here?
I would hope so. I would really hope that it would, give us all an idea of what it looks like from outer space and how actually gorgeous our planet is. Maybe they would stop, throwing litter on the side of the highway as much as we do right now. Well, not me, but
Yeah, I think it would. I think that's a really good question because if you think about how the tenor of the debate changed in 1969 when we went to the moon, and yeah, it was the U.S. and there was the whole U.S.-Soviet thing, but for a moment there, everyone just stopped and that all didn't matter. It didn't solve everything. It didn't get rid of the problems, but it really changed the perspective on things, and that's fading away now
yeah.
because we aren't up there. And
I've seen
I
a
think it
little
would
bit
have a
of it.
huge effect.
I've seen a little bit of it with like going green, don't use as much plastic bags as you usually do, and we've had those electric cars and whatnot. But would the planet be like brown by then? That would be terrible.
Oh,
God, if we had someone just living in the moon and we checked in with them every day on a podcast or something.
Yeah.
the
Hey, what
news,
color
maybe
is
you're
it
right,
today?
Tom, maybe people would keep that perspective.
And honestly, of course, if Shannon's prediction comes true and we can actually tour, then that perspective just becomes a
I
fact
hope
of
people
life.
consider me a psychic because that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be called the Morse tours.
Yes. Oh, that would be so epic.
And people will think it's just
won't be
they're
alive by
mispronouncing
then,
Mars, but because no one reads history. All right, well, let's turn to you, Heather. What is your long-term prediction, your strange turn your world upside down 100-plus years prediction? What do you got for us?
The world, I'm sorry, Scott, I don't mean to be negative, but Canada will be invaded for water, probably by Arizona.
By Arizona. So
And Nevada, we have new countries, like the U.S. will be like many, many like how the Soviet Union broke up into Uzbekistan and everything. That'll happen here.
Oh yeah, I wrote a novel about that.
Oh really?
About
What's
the
it
United.
called?
It's called Boiling
really-
Point. It's the breakup of the United States into separate countries.
Yeah, you should read it. It's awesome.
Tell everybody,
awesome
go
stuff.
read it. Wait,
Yes.
is it on your site?
Go read it. Yeah, subrilliant.com/boiling point
Ooh.
is the website.
And when they go to invade Canada, Canadians defend themselves by giving everyone a passport and a donut.
Come on.
From Tim Hortons.
And a cup of Tim Hortons, yeah.
That's right. That's the defense strategy. Embrace and include.
Yeah, and absorb until eventually all those countries become part of Canada.
I'm totally
which is
cool with
basically
becoming
all
a part
about
of
the
Canada.
water and ice. Sorry, Shannon, go ahead.
I am totally cool with becoming a part of Canada.
Oh, they're all right.
Really?
They're all right. They're America's hat. They're fine people.
I love Canada. Everybody's nice up there. You guys have cute words like A, and you guys make these amazing Caesar drinks, which I love.
Because they're all alike.
I have a thing that I
the
believe in. very
blackberry, as the Canadian nerds are very proud of.
Oh, really?
It's the
If
home
you
of
can-
Rim. That's true.
Can you confirm whether or not Canadian money, or at least some of it, has holes in it? Can you do that for me? They have holes in their money, right?
Let me think.
Like they're,
I think you're in the wrong.
Yeah, I don't think any of their money have
hemisphere there.
holes.
all right.
They have money that's actually called a
There's
loony.
no holes in the money there, Scott. But let's get to the heart of this prediction.
But there are a lot of igloos. Everyone lives in an igloo. You're right about that, Scott.
Of course.
So this is a take on the water wars prediction, and Canada being invaded for their water is interesting because you have so much of it in ice. It would be like a mining operation for your water.
Mm-hmm. Although by then, will it still? How much?
That's true. You may have lost. You may
How
have
much
lost
of it will
that.
have melted by
Or maybe
then?
we've created a new way to have ice. I mean, we've got all kinds of new tech by you're saying 100 years. So
Yeah, 100+ years, sure.
Yeah, we've talked about on the show a couple of times how messed up it is that Arizona even exists as a state. Now, I know nothing wrong with Arizona. Love the sun.
You have.
My brother lives there. I love Arizona in every way, but that place lives on borrowed water. Like there's no.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
For them to survive without
and
it.
Vegas does. I mean, not Nevada has heading there too, and a lot of the U.S. is going to keep going that direction. Don't you think? I mean, that's a lot of what happens in Israel is about the water. I mean, beyond oil.
Well, that's what the entire Dune series was based on, is the water rights in the Middle East and the conflicts that it causes. Except in Dune, they changed it to the spice instead of the water, right?
Right.
And I think you could have some similar type conflicts in parts of the United States. There's an interesting book by Joel Garreau called The 9 Nations of North America, where he tries to identify what parts of North America are culturally related versus politically related. And he points out that some cities just shouldn't exist, like Las Vegas, but they are sort of on the borders of these cultural areas. Indianapolis is his favorite example because you look at Indianapolis, there's no big river there. There's really no reason for that to exist either, but it's at the corner of what he calls the factory, the breadbasket, and the South. And those are culturally independent areas that meet in that place. But we need a lot of technology to keep those sort of places running. In Indianapolis, they've got enough natural resources, but there has to be transportation and other technology to sort of keep that worth living in. Las Vegas needs a huge amount of water.
Insane amounts of water. I mean, the amount of electricity that place burns. I grew up in Niagara Falls, a generator of electricity, but Vegas. I mean, Vegas is a little like Niagara Falls with a little Pittsburgh on the side. That's what the Niagara Falls is like, and if you go there, it's just unsustainable. It's obviously ridiculous. I mean, it's just not. I mean, fun. It's fantastically campy and great high-low culture, but I don't know long term how you can afford to keep the lawns watered and all the golfing going. I don't know how.
Well,
they would have to invade Canada.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it.
It's
The
the
last
obvious
time I was
solution.
in Vegas, I tried a little experiment to myself because it is obviously unsustainable and it is obviously completely ridiculous. But I remember being at a buffet at Mandalay Bay and thinking, what if suddenly everything around me except the buffet and me just disappeared?
Ooh.
That we could go back to 300 years ago and this was just nothing but a big flat arid desert.
It's a time travel brisket. Like you're eating buffet, and the buffet is the thing that puts you through the time, like the wormhole.
It's smart
Right.
that you kept the buffet, though. I admire that. It's good forethought.
The point of it would be that the contrast. You would suddenly be in this place of dust, dirt, and dry, and you would be presented with a table of all perishable food that's going to go away in about an hour if you don't eat it all. and you're left in this desert and no way to survive. And that's really, I mean, we've created this artificial construct in Vegas. It's crazy to me what we've done there. But anyway, it's the West. I should support my Western friends. I live in Salt Lake City.
Long Island is a little bit like that. If you're out here, it's like everyone's got a Hummer and a giant screen TV. And every time I see it, I'm like, what are you going to do when you're done with that TV? You're going to put it in the ground? You're going to drink the water that, gets mixed up with that? I mean, just environmentally, the way this place is built is crazy. There's like 2 roads in the whole place to get in and out.
Yeah.
We'll have post-peak oil by then, right? But we'll have some new technology, hydrogen something. Or
some energy source, yeah. And maybe we'll be able to turn salt water into potable water easier.
I think we'd have the technology by then, hopefully.
Ish.
We have enough salt water.
All right, well, maybe that's a crazy prediction. Let's move on to the crazy-ass predictions. It could be incredibly long timelines. It could be just a wild prediction that you think is off the charts in craziness, but hopefully it's a doozy, and Heather will stick with you. What is your crazy-ass prediction?
Well, I wanted to go earlier, and it's not crazy enough, really, with, the equivalent of plastic surgery is people are now putting giant metal structures out of their heads and arms. You want like an arm on your head. But I feel like we kind of explored that. So I feel like I should go more positive. Like people will be forced to really be connected to each other because everything will be so relational and so connected in terms of information. The world will feel much smaller and life will be... what we consider feminine will be very like the mix of masculine and feminine will have integrated by then. It'll be just kind of a mix of emotional connection along with logic and everything. That doesn't sound so sexy, but that's what comes to me.
I've been thinking about something like this for a long time, but in regards to the notion of privacy, where communication becomes so normal and so transparent and so fast that our notion of privacy changes. It doesn't go away. We don't lose all notions of privacy, but what we consider practically private information becomes different. And I think what you're saying is sort of an expanded version of that. It's like because our notions of a lot of things are going to change.
Because of that, one of the things that happens when everybody knows, I mean, even in 10 or 20 years, whoever runs for president will have photos of your, grade 3 birthday. We're going to see everything in your life. And I think, the positive spin on how that goes is that you have to have a less judgmental world because you're constantly exposed to reality and you're exposed. I mean, I did a show at South by Southwest a few years ago, and our theme was continuous partial attention. And Justin Hall was going off on how we thought, it would be basically psychic. What we think of as psychic is just the transfer, like you're saying, Tom, is so fast and so open to each other. That you just know what everybody else is. I mean, never mind, I have to manually update my status message. You think it, I know it.
I think we have living examples of this right now. So I spent some time in China in the early 2000s, and my experience there was harrowing. Like when I had to go through the subway system and jump from province to province all by myself, not speaking the language, it was a sea of people. And because I'm 6'4", it was a sea of people about a foot lower than me. And it was a weird juxtaposition to sort of see this. But what struck me was how awkward it was for me to deal with the closeness of everyone and the proximity of everything and knowing that it was just too much. I'm claustrophobic in this place. I got to get out of here. While they are surfing the crowd and know exactly where to move and when to move. And nobody seemed to bother anybody. And nobody seemed to be bothered by the guy next to him. And the elbow didn't matter. And this reminds me of your prediction because it seems like we already have examples of where physical space is being... they acclimate to a space that they're sort of forced to be in, and now that's just the natural thing. Same goes for privacy, same goes for lots of things. You just eventually kind of get used to whatever it is you're forced into.
I mean, the little bit I tend to be a little Jeff Jarvis-y about this, but my experiences even in the kind of performance stuff that I do, when you are more open, people tend to be more open in return. And if you're less judgmental, they'll tell you more stuff. And I just think that exposure can really lead to that. I think it's interesting to think about the physical space, though, too. I mean, for sure, India, I mean, what is that place going to look like? 1,000 years is so far away. It's hard to even think of the planet. But, it's so populated. That place is moving so much faster than we are. It seems to me there's the momentum in it. Who knows? I mean, and the sense of time is completely different there. It's not so linear, like I had to do this, then that. And I mean, how would that work, Scott, when we're that interconnected, our sense of time, is everything still be like, I have to get this project done for, this deadline at this moment? Or do things just feel non-local all the time? Does everything feel like it's immediately everywhere and dispersed?
That's funny you say that, because I just started yesterday. Somebody recommended I try the Pomodoro technique, which is like that tomato timer guy thing. You guys should look it up. PomodoroTechnique.com is where you can find more about it. But anyway, the idea is basically this. You have this timer that you do 25 minutes. You set it to that. You start it. And the goal is you pick something off your to-do list and you do it hardcore for the next 25 minutes. Total focus, no distractions, no Twitter, no texting. You just do it. And then at the end of that, you get a 5-minute break. And the timer automatically gives you this another 5 minutes. And you just kind of go do something. Read part of your book. Rest your eyes, walk around, whatever, and then you go do another one. You're supposed to do, up to 4 Pomodoros a day before you take a 15-minute break, and then you go back to this routine and kind of recycle the whole thing again. And it has done this weird thing to me. In just a day of trying it, the jury's still out whether or not I think it's really helping me or effective in all that I have to get done, but it has changed my sense of time, oddly enough. And I don't think it takes much as a species to have our times, or our sense of time at least, altered in some significant way. So what you say has real merit. Sorry, Tom, used your last name again in a sentence, but
that's all right. It's Creative Commons.
But it makes sense that all of those things are malleable. They're not just static truths that we're stuck to. Time can be very different between countries, between people, and between days even.
Yeah, emotionally, in my New Show the Law Project gets into this a lot. Our emotional, psychological sense of time is completely different. I mean, just like you guys started talking earlier about, remember, I don't know, Tom, you're talking about the space shuttle, the Challenger blowing up.
Yeah, right.
Once you go to a certain memory, and right away, you emotionally remember everything that seems like branched out and connected to it. It's right there at the same moment. And yet, a lot of the stuff we do today is premised on this idea that everything's got to go like this, when we ourselves don't experience the world, at least emotionally, very much that way. And I think we're pretty emotionally driven beings. So my experience, and the thing that really affected me living in India for a summer was sense of time more than anything else.
And in what way was the sense of time different? What did they do that was different? I mean, did they just not have deadlines, or was it more forgiving, or?
Well, I mean, I did visit some tech parks, and maybe they had deadlines there, but the general sense was stuff happened when it happened. I mean, yes, it was supposed to start at 2, or the boat was going to go, but if stuff didn't work, I mean, I was on a boat that was falling apart in terrible waves and a whole storm, and the people around me, some of whom were quite elderly, were just so chill about that. There wasn't like, I got to get to this thing. It was just, here's what happens. Also, obviously, it's a harder life for a lot of people. It's harder to live, but the sense of time is weird. It's like time travel also, because some places are so developed. So I was in the south in Trivandrum, which has a different Indian name, but no one seemed to use it. It's very long. And like one block would look like 1920, and the next block would look like 1820, and then it was like a tech park with high fiber. It was like right next to each other. You could see them. So for me, that made my sense of just time and the way I've learned, progression of time in our culture here, just think it's all scrambled. It's a little bit like, Scott, I ate, this thing off the buffet, and, where was I?
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm somewhere else, and things move differently. And your relationships with people change if it's not, I need to deal with you to get something done. I think the more relational we become, the entire point is for us to connect with each other. So,
Heather, do you think that after many hundreds of years, maybe, that humans will have evolved to a point where that they can be busy but not feel busy? Do you know what I mean? Like
not feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, we have evolved to a point where we've gotten so used to living this kind of life that it just comes to us naturally, and we can like share information through our minds instead of just having to having to Twitter everything that we're thinking and having to get on Facebook as much.
Well, I mean, I think the way that to deal with overwhelm is to be able to handle your feelings more, and also, I guess, like Scott's experimenting with different ways of getting stuff done. So it's learning how to deal with your focus, and also learning how to deal with emotions. I mean, I think emotional psychological development will hopefully move massively in the next 1,000 years, which make living here pretty different. And I think that not feeling busy or not feeling stressed, I mean, look at how much our culture is, the tech culture anyway is obsessed with it, and we tend to do stuff before it moves on to other people. Don't you think it'll push a kind of desire to find a way to take things down, because at some point you just can't keep going. It's just there's only so much you could. There's a limit to what you can humanly do. I mean, I found in the last years, I had a moment at South by I don't know how many years ago, and I wrote a piece about this for Encyclopedia Britannica. I just kind of gave up, and it really helped me. Like I stopped sorting email, I stopped sorting folders. I try to do more flow stuff. I'm not saying I've perfected it, but I've made a real priority just because I literally couldn't handle the number of things I was on and people I was trying to talk to and things I was trying to manage. So I think it's you change your mental or emotional approach to stuff, and that makes you maybe feel less stressed because you made it a priority.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of time, it's time to hear Shannon's prediction, your crazy-ass prediction for 10,000 years, or just off the hook. What do you got?
I've always really, really enjoyed things that explain aliens coming to visit us. Just put it like that. And I have this feeling that maybe one day, and this is crazy, that creatures sort of like Cylons will come back to us and say, hey, we are actually somehow related to you, and we would like to assimilate with your population here on Earth.
So like robot Cylons, like classic ones, or the new skin job ones?
The ones that have the skin job, you know that they're made like technologically. And
right, okay.
They have technology built into them, but like the human ones that look like us, but we know they're different because we saw them come from outer space, but they want to assimilate with us. They don't want to kill us. They don't want to blow up our planet. They want to come here and live with us peacefully and learn about our culture and have us learn from them and possibly go visit them at their planet eventually.
Kind of an anthropological sort of visit?
Yes. Just to learn about each other and maybe even like migrate into our own culture and mix together and be able to create a new subculture of that.
Now, are you thinking that has been happening with the UFOs as like test runs?
I don't think it's happened yet.
Okay.
I think if they do come to visit, which they will eventually, that they will let us know that they are different from us. But us as a culture, I think we're welcoming enough to have new, like, let me think of an example. In San Francisco, I've noticed that everybody here is very welcoming of different kinds of lifestyles. And I think that we would be very welcoming of the Cylons lifestyle to come with us and, just mix in together.
There'd be a Cylon section of town?
Yes.
With Cylon restaurants?
Hopefully it wouldn't be like that movie that came out recently. What was that called? The one where they had District 9.
Oh.
Hopefully it wouldn't be anything like that. We would all be able to interact with each other and be friendly together. But I think that would be so cool to happen. It's probably like totally crazy, and I don't think we actually came from Cylons. But wouldn't that be awesome?
But what would their motivation be coming here? Like, are they escaping their planet that is all brown and disgusting now, and they've got to go somewhere new? Or what would their reason?
They would just want to learn and be able to further their population.
Okay, fair enough. Robots.
It's like a fact-finding mission for the robots.
A fact-finding mission.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to do a documentary.
It's like a field trip from school. They want to learn something.
Yes, they want to do a documentary on our lifestyles and eventually just come together and be one big peaceful environment.
Do you think, really, Shannon, that we're capable of dealing with difference? I mean, don't you think that we have a lot of cultures that are pretty happy to say, well, maybe in thousands of years we'll have it figured out how to not be freaked out.
We're a big melting pot of people, and we keep on mixing. You can't really stop it.
I'm with you. I think the mixing is the key. You're right.
Yeah. We're a big melting pot.
I just hope they land in San Francisco and not in, South Carolina. No offense, South Carolinians.
I know. Why you got to do that?
Well, they got a bunch of shotguns and they're out in the yard and they're like, what the hell's that? And I'm just saying the initial impact.
I hope they don't land in Utah, Johnson.
Hope they don't land in Missouri, where I'm from.
Yeah,
that
right.
would be pretty bad for them.
They'll be all right in Salt Lake. They land in Provo, they're in trouble. But Salt Lake.
You're in Utah?
Yeah, I'm in Salt Lake City.
Where in Utah? Salt Lake City. Okay. How many streets away from the temple?
Oh my gosh, from here? Which one? Because there's 10.
The biggie. Isn't there one major biggie?
One big one, yeah, the Salt Lake Temple. So I guess we're probably about 200 or 300 blocks if you counted it out. That's interesting. How do you know about the block system? It's actually pretty efficient.
My ex-girlfriend was Mormon, and I visited Salt Lake, and I know that in Mormon life, your life is surrounded by it's all about how far you are from the temple, and the people always can They're not parishes. They're steaks. Your state that you live in?
Steaks and wards, yeah.
Your wards. I mean, I have to say, if talk about we keep mixing, I mean, if you look at like marketing vectors, we could all also end up Mormon, conceivably.
That's another crazy-ass prediction.
Could, yeah.
This is the first time I've ever heard anyone say that the culture is dependent on how many blocks away from the temple you are. That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but I like it. We do have, I mean, the thing about this state, which is kind of cool, and I predict the rest of the world. Here's my prediction, Tom. We never do this. I predict the rest of the world should adopt a grid system for their streets so that when I go visit family in Mississippi.
I would love that.
Oh my gosh, that used to drive my friend Doug, who was from Northern Illinois. He was from Sterling, Illinois. It used to drive him crazy when we both lived in Austin, Texas. He's like, you can't just turn left and go around a block. What the hell kind of city is this? It's like, well, you know, there's things, there's geography and cow paths, and I don't know why.
I have that problem in Williamsburg, Virginia. I got lost left and right, no matter where I was going. I had no clue if I was north or south, and usually I'm very good about it, but it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need a standardized system. Is that what you're saying? So like an IEEE
standardized system would be great.
Well, you're right, Heather. We've got GPS, so if you just tell it where you want to go, it doesn't really matter whether it's on a grid or not anymore.
A lot of people, though, still don't use GPSs. For example, my mom and dad.
So, but eventually, maybe, you know, it'll be permeated. It'll become standard.
I hope it's a standard thing eventually.
All right, time for 4 questions. This is the segment where we hit each of our guests rapid fire style with 4 questions about the future. You are not allowed to stop and think, but rather tap into the communal energy of the space-time continuum, answer from the gut, and therefore give us, if not a more accurate prediction, at least a highly entertaining one. And Scott, you're going to lead us off, eh?
Yes, I am. Shannon, are you sitting comfortably?
Kind of, yeah.
As much as you can.
As much as I can.
In that musical seat that you're sitting in. Here we go. I'm going to ask you these questions, and here's the first one. Okay. When the aliens come, will they be the Trek-style aliens that are pretty much all humanoid other than sort of head and face stuff? Or will they be Star Wars types, more gelatinous and misshapen?
They will be Trek-style aliens.
Oh, good.
And hopefully they'll be like green colored, though. That would be really cool.
I had no idea you were going to be so alien-centric today, but that question was perfect. I had no idea when I wrote that question. We're going to be all sci-fi and stuff, which is great. If you could book a trip to Mars tomorrow, what one item would you make sure to bring with you and why?
Oh, my iPhone so that I could Twitter that I'm on Mars and make everybody jealous.
Just got to Mars, trying to find my luggage.
Yeah, internet connection up there sucks, though.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Hopefully they have free Wi-Fi.
What's your OH tweet on Mars?
Oh, God, what would that be? I have no clue. I usually don't do the OHs. I always forget about them. But I always do, let's see, I do a lot of retweets.
Thirsty.
Yeah.
Right.
Just saw the wheel off the Phoenix.
Or something.
Sorry to jump in there and interrupt, Scott.
No, that was quick fire interruptions. We enjoy those. We like those. What fast food restaurant besides Taco Bell, because we've all seen Millennium Man.
Demolition Man.
Or Demolition Man, what'd I say? Millennium Man? That's this terrible Robin Williams movie no one should see.
Don't see Millennium Man.
What will be here long after our great-grandchildren are gone?
McDonald's. It's always been there, and it's going to be there for many years. Even though we hate it, we love it.
All right. And then finally, your 4th question. If you could wish for one biological mutation to be inflicted upon you, what would it be?
Being able to fly. If you call that a mutation.
Sure.
Well, I guess it could be.
Take it. That's a mutation I could use.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's an X-Men mutation. That counts.
It would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Free flights.
Nice work. Nice work. Those were good answers to my 4 questions. Very nice.
All right, we'll move over to you, Heather. Are you sitting comfortably?
Just a minute. Okay.
Then we'll begin.
I think I can handle it.
Question number 1. When we finally meet the aliens, will they have a sense of humor?
God, yes, please. Please. How could they have survived in space without one? Yes, they must.
Because they're always humorless. Whenever you meet them in the movies, I'm like, really? Come on.
It's
or they
because
might have a bunch of
nerds
inside
made
jokes.
It's because somebody who's very literal wrote the movie.
Question number 2. Once we've ruined Earth, what kind of planet will humanity settle on as their new homeworld?
What kind of planet? A planet that's just a beach. It's just everyone lives on a beach.
The planet of beach. So better than Waterworld. It's like Waterworld, but with beachfront.
Well, there's water, but the water is really all pina colada. So it's a giant beach with pina colada river.
I am moving to your planet. Question number 3. Odds on humanity surviving the next 1,000 years.
Oof. I'm being affected by Shannon's positivity. We'll do anything to survive. We will.
So you're giving it even odds then?
At least, yes.
Wow. Very nice. And finally, question number 4. Will we ever evolve antenna or tentacles, and why?
Tentacles, right?
Either antenna or tentacles.
I'm just being curious. Tentacles.
On the inside.
Ooh. Endotentacles. Endotentacles. And why?
Because becoming more sensitive to picking up information is about being more so it's a more internal thing. It's your sensors are becoming more. You need more surface area to have more stuff sensing what's going on.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you for answering our 4 questions, Heather.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so delighted to have a couple of consistent haters. They really make my day.
Well, I'm glad.
How dare you continue to be you? Why can't you be somebody else? I really like somebody. Okay.
Oh, I'm glad you guys came on the show, and I'm sorry it's over.
I am too. We talked about some cool stuff today. This is not that we don't always, and I do this every time I know Tom, where I go, this is better than the last. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying
this is
some of these topics really good.
Best of our 44 shows.
I'm sorry we're out of time because I want to know what people said in other shows, like food. There's so many topics I don't know what's going to happen to, like our food.
Yeah, well, they're all at the website, FourCastPodcast.com. Not that you have time to go listen to all of them, but, you know.
Oh, I did. All of them
yesterday.
That's
all. You can read the summaries. Get you close. And Heather, let folks know where they can find you elsewheres on the internet.
You can find me at heathergold.com. I have an old-fashioned monthly newsletter I still put out. It's been like over 10 years. So please join. If you'd like to know when my next shows are, Tummelvision, TUMMELVISION.TV, which started here on Twit. And all the other links come off of heathergold.com and subvert.com.
And Shannon.
It's been a real pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Heather. And Shannon, where can folks see you?
You can find me over at hack5.org. That's our podcast. You can also find me on Twitter at Snubs or Facebook.com/Snubs.
All right. Scott Johnson, anything to plug before we head out?
Oh, you know what? Let's plug. Let's just tell people to go to frogpants.com. Tom and Veronica's very own show, Sword and Laser, is on the network now. They should go check out some of the Frog Pants Studio stuff, and I think they'll find something they may like. Just check out the podcast section at frogpants.com.
And if you're listening or watching this on demand, we do the show live every Monday on the Twit Network at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time at live.twit.tv. You can find us on the web, fourcastpodcast.com, or send us an email, fourcastpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.
See ya.
I like your theme song.
Yeah, it's a
very
friend of
jazzy.
Scott's that made it.
Yeah, we'll play it again.
I love it. Can we have a dance party?
We are.
But it's only 32 years away.
Yeah, he's awesome. His name is Rob Hubers. I never say it right, but it's part of the Schnauzer Radio Orchestra, and the guy is amazing. He just pump out a theme. All you got to do is look at him funny, and he'll make you a theme. He's amazing.
That's awesome.
But it's only 32 years away.